Hi, Ellie Hochenberg. Great to have you here, Ellie.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first take a look at today's Memorial Day events, which this year, unfortunately, did not pass without controversy. More in this report from our Pia Steckelbach.
On Memorial Day, bereaved families visit the graves of their loved ones on the many military graveyards here in Israel. This one in Kiryat Shaul, north of Tel Aviv, has a large section for fallen soldiers. More than 3,000 graves are located here. The graves here are decorated for the occasion of Memorial Day with Israeli flags, flowers next to every grave. There is a white stool put so that family members will have the chance or had the chance to sit down next to them, next to the graves during the ceremony. The ceremony itself started with the nationwide siren at 11, then continued with the widow of a soldier who fell in the 73 war, who lit a torch. Then Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant held a speech, and he emphasized that this day is dedicated to all representatives of the security forces, soldiers, police officers, those who work in the intelligence apparatus and also in prisons. Now, Gallant was one of the politicians who in advance called upon the public to leave politics outside the cemeteries. Now, this Memorial Day is probably the most political the country has ever seen. Many bereaved families and the organization representing them, Yad Lebanin, requested in advance that politicians who did not serve in the military, in the army themselves, most of them for religious reasons, would not attend the ceremonies held all across the country. Israel will make that famous transition from the somber atmosphere of Memorial Day to the Independence Day celebrations also held all across the country. Pia Steckelbach from Kiryat Shaul for I-24 News.
One politician who insisted on attending and speaking at a memorial event today was far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, despite calls that he not do so over concern that his appearance there could spark protests. And that, unfortunately, is exactly what happened when Ben-Gvir showed up at the Beersheba Military Cemetery, even setting off a scuffle between mourners there, between those who were supporting his participation in the ceremony and those opposing it. And Ellie, no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, it's upsetting to see a scene like that at a cemetery on Israel's Memorial Day.
That might be an understatement, Kalev. And in this respect, what is perhaps more disturbing is that it was clear that this is going to be the situation. For several days now, tensions have been leading up to this confrontation, and either the attempts to de-escalate the situation did not bear fruit, or there were not enough attempts to do so. We're hearing a very harsh criticism on behalf of bereaved families, organizations, on the insistence, as they're dubbing it, of politicians to attend such sensitive ceremonies. And on the other hand, politicians are saying, well, we are here to honor those who had fallen and lost their life in terror attacks. So I truly do not recall such a complex atmosphere at this already extremely emotional week in Israel, year in, year out. This year, there's something different. This lack of social cohesion is everywhere,
right,
and is impacting, again, what is already an extremely sensitive week, and the hope that this holy day will remain sacred are somewhat fading away with this. And in this respect, let's just be clear, most ceremonies, most memorials were quote-unquote eventless.
Right, they did pass quietly. We should stress that. But we should also note that it was not only at the Beersheba Cemetery, also Minister Gila Gamliel, who tried to arrive at a ceremony at one of Israel's Druze communities, was in fact denied entrance, sort of locked out of that in anger over the previous Netanyahu government's passing of what's called the nation-state law. So you're right, this was only in a couple of locations, but it's a shame to even see that.
Yeah, and making this already difficult transition from memory to celebration even more difficult.
Right, and Ellie, stay with us. In fact, there's a protest this evening, we should mention, in the streets of Tel Aviv, not at a ceremony, again dealing with against the government's judicial reform plans, and our correspondent Pierre Klosch-Handler is there. And Pierre, it's obviously this is a different day for this kind of demonstration. Just give us a feeling of the atmosphere there.
Well, it's going to start in about an hour because we have not yet been through the transition, the abrupt transition between sorrow and celebration. But here we expect tens of thousands, maybe even more, of demonstrators and celebrators. It's both a demonstration, a protest against the judicial overhaul, and a celebration of the state of the independence of the state of Israel. And one of the things which the people here are harking back about is the Declaration of Independence, which was signed in 1948 by David Ben-Gurion 75 years ago, which enshrines the guiding principles of Israel's democracy. And for the protesters, Israel's democracy is in danger. They're going to read excerpts of that Declaration of Independence. They're going to probably read one of the guiding principles about social and political equality between all the citizens of Israel with no distinction of race, gender, of religion, and they're going to probably talk about the independence of the state and the independence of the judiciary system, which is what they're trying to defend. So we expect both a celebration with DJs, clowns, jugglers, rappers, and at the same time a protest with stickers, Israeli flags, and speeches.
All right, Pierre-Claude Chandler there on the streets of Tel Aviv. Pierre, thank you for that. I mean, the irony here, Ellie, is that actually just simply looks like the setting up of an Independence Day celebration. For those who don't know, Israel's Independence Day, especially in the big cities, is really just a big street party, usually characterized primarily by Israeli flags, like we've been seeing in these protests, which is, again, something totally really new, a protest which some have characterized as being more on the left or an anti-government protest, but we're seeing Israeli flags and people saying that they're protesting for the country, not against it.
And this is perhaps, in retrospect, in the books of history, will turn out to be one of the main turning point of this protest. What really changed the course of the protest we've seen now for over 16 weeks in a row. This reclaiming of the Israeli flag that for several years indeed was attributed more to the right-wing elements.
Or the national or nationalist campus.
Right. And the fact that from the very beginning, all the different types of flags were put aside, and the Israeli flag took center stage. It is really something that, again, dictated the tone for the entire protest movement that we've seen in recent years. And tonight in particular, I think that we're going to see Israeli flags on many different forms, capacities, and I can only express genuine hope that perhaps this very clear sight of the Israeli flag across the political divide on every home here in Israel, whether you're right, you're left, you're center, you're secular, you're orthodox, that perhaps it will remind people that at the end of the day, again, the way in which the state of Israel can prosper, the Israeli society might differ on that, the goal is the same one.
Right, it's a unity. We should note there's going to be a big protest scheduled on Thursday night in favor of the judicial reforms. They're calling that a million-man march.
It's not the end of it whatsoever.
So we're going to have to see how that goes. Ellie Hochensberg, stay with us. When we come back, we're going to see the ceremonies marking first the end of Israel's Memorial Day, and then, of course, into transition. We see there scenes from Mount Herzl into Israel's Independence Day celebration. We'll carry all of that live. Stay with us on I-24 News.
I mean, it's one of the highlights of my career. I do a lot of big dinners, but this one is very personal.
It's very nice. It's really attractive to people. And I think I didn't see, like I've been so many places, I didn't see the same thing.
Para mí lo que representa la pirámide es algo contemporáneo, ya en la época era súper contemporáneo y creo que estamos dando a dar la visión contemporánea.
Welcome back to this special broadcast on I-24 News. We are in, as I said before, the very last closing minutes of Israel's Memorial Day in remembrance of its fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism. But just in a few minutes, we're going to go to the Independence Day ceremony on Mount Herzl. We just saw there Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah. They are arriving to the site on Mount Herzl, where we'll see the celebration, which we're going to be showing in its entirety, which will be lasting about an hour and a half. Traditionally, the Prime Minister actually does not speak at the Independence Day ceremony, though Benjamin Netanyahu did do that a couple of years ago. But the main address actually is going to be given by the Speaker of the Knesset of Parliament, Amir Ohana, because this is actually an event honoring the Parliament, the Knesset of Israel, and the founding of the State of Israel, its 75th anniversary. And Eli Hulkenberg still in studio with me. What's really striking is going to be this very quick transition from the morning of Memorial Day to the celebration of Independence Day.
You know, no matter how many years we sit here in this studio covering this event, obviously watching it as kids here in Israel and many people overseas as well, every year anew, I find it so difficult to try to explain this transition because we're talking about utter, most substantial, fundamental grief at the highest level an individual and a nation can comprehend, and in a split second to utter and complete joy and celebration and pride, great pride in the accomplishments of this very young state, I must mention. But this is the thing about Israel and Israeli society, perhaps, that the sorrow and the pain and the challenges are so profoundly intertwined with the accomplishments and the achievements. And again, this sense of gratitude and pride in what Israel was able to achieve in the framework of only 75 years.
Right.
So, an truly incomprehensible transition that
but maybe also a fitting reminder that the freedom for Israel and the Jewish people and independence came at a very high price. The War of Independence, in which some 5,000 people were killed. That was 1%, 6,000 I believe, 1% of the entire population, a Jewish population at the time. The state, the famous expression in Hebrew, the state was not handed over on a silver platter to those who inherited. And maybe this transition from mourning and grief to celebration is a potent reminder of that.
Absolutely. And if you want to dive in deeper to what preceded the state of Israel, in Jewish heritage, you will find it difficult to find a celebration without some level of sorrow or grief, right, when talking about Jewish holidays. But the this Independence Day celebration, indeed, as you're saying, saying cannot be disconnected from the price that had been and still is being paid for its survival. And a quick note, if I may, you mentioned Parliament Speaker Amir Ohana, and if we're talking about the differences and the complexity of the current political situation, Amir Ohana is a fascinating example of how alleged contradictions
very much so
can exist all at once. Amir Ohana is a member of the ruling Likud party, the right-wing Likud party, and also
openly gay.
Openly gay. Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Let's go now to the ceremony which has begun on Mount Herzl.
המשמר יפנה לשמאל, שמאלה פנה, המשמר ישר שורותיו לימין, לימין, שר. לחזית, שוב. המשמר יציג את נשקו. הצג, שק. המשמר יעבור לנוח, עמוד נוח.
אל רחבת הר הרצל נכנס עתה יושב ראש הכנסת,
member of Knesset, Amir Ohana is now entering the ceremony plaza at Mount Herzl. He is accompanied by the commander of the Home Front Command, Major General Rafi Milo, commander of the Jerusalem and Central District, Colonel Shlomo Ben Yair, and the Knesset officer, Yuval Chen.
משמר דום. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. החטף, שק. המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. אכתב, שק!
The commander of the ceremony for 7 years now is Colonel Shimon Deri. Mr. Speaker of the Knesset, the 2023 ceremony of the lighting of the torches and transferring the main flags is set and ready. With your permission, I will continue with the ceremony. Sir, the commander of the ceremony, please continue.
המשמר יפנה לימין. ימינה, די! המשמר, קדימה, צעד!
המשמר יפנה לשמאל. שמאלה הפנה.
יזכור.
המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. אכתב, שק.
The Yizkor
prayer will be read by Rabbi Leo D., who lost his wife Lucy and his two daughters, 15-year-old Rina and 20-year-old Maya, in a terrorist attack in the Jordan Valley. The D family made Aliyah to Israel from England and settled in Efrat. Lucy was a beloved teacher at a high school yeshiva, Maya a national service volunteer, and Rina a student at the Kiryat Arba Ulpana. After having buried his wife and daughters, Rabbi Leo asked the public to raise the Israeli flag on social media. Tens of thousands of people in Israel and around the world uploaded pictures of the blue and white flag with the words, "In remembrance of them." For the reading of the Yizkor, please rise. May the nation of Israel remember its sons and daughters, faithful and courageous, the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, and all members of the undergrounds and brigades, the warriors in the battles of the nation, members of the intelligence community, security personnel, policemen, and the prison service, who gave up their lives in a war to ensure the existence of Israel, and all of whom that were killed within Israel and outside of Israel at the hands of murderers and terrorists. May the nation of Israel remember the radiance of the youthfulness, the delightfulness, heroism, purity of their will, and the selflessness of those who fell in the costly wars. May the names of the victorious heroes who fell in the wars of Israel be inscribed upon the hearts of all Israelis and Jews for all generations. You may be seated. The first one is for the friendship between us. May it flourish and rise higher and higher. Not sorry, okay. The second one is for the neighborhood in Karmit. The two houses next to each other with a shared garden. Children will play tag. Amen. The third one, so that we are rich as the kings for a match. And this, I won't tell you what this is.
הלילה עצור רסיסי כוכב נופל איך אתה לא מסתכל מעבר לצד אפל הלילה עטף את עיניך צל שחור פתי ביישן וטהור רצית לעוף כמו ציפור הכל עומד במקום הזמן ממשיך ללכת היית כאן ופתאום הכל נטרף כמו חלום הכל עומד במקום הזמן ממשיך ללכת הכל נטרף כמו חלום אל פי התהום הלילה יפנו בגללך מילים ריקות אחר כך יבואו שתיקות בדידות ושנים ארוכות הלילה עצב הוא רק מקום אחר חדר כיסא ופסנתר פרח ליד הגדר הכל עומד במקום הזמן ממשיך ללכת היית כאן ופתאום הכל נטרף כמו חלום הכל עומד במקום הזמן ממשיך ללכת הכל נטרף כמו חלום אל פי התהום כמו חלום הכל עומד במקום הלילה מצאו רסיסי כוכב נופל איך אתה לא מסתכל
האירוע המרכזי לציון
The
75
main event is celebrating the 75th anniversary of Israel's independence. The lighting of the torches ceremony and transferring the main flags of Israel will open with raising the flag of Israel. Please rise.
היכון להנפת דגל המדינה לראש התורן. המשמר יעבור לדום. משמר דום. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. אחטף, שק. המשמר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק. המשמר יחטיף את נשקו. הכתב, שק.
נא לשבת.
Please be seated.
פנה לימין. ימינה פנה. משמר קדימה. צד.
The address of the Prime Minister to the citizens of Israel. Dear brothers and sisters, citizens of Israel, let's pause all the commotion for a moment. Let's look at this great wonder which is called the State of Israel. So many miracles we've worked here over 75 years. We rose from the ashes of the Holocaust to the heights of resurrection. As one nation, we won the wars of this country. As one nation, we absorbed millions of olim. As one nation, we've established a global industry and established such a glorious free economy. As one nation, we brought historic peace accords with Egypt and Jordan, the Emirates, Morocco, with Sudan and Bahrain. As one nation, we built this country, our country, towns and villages, roads and high-rises. As one nation, we established the IDF with the best soldiers in the world who are protecting our country. Well done to the IDF and the security establishment. They're the best. But we still have so many great miracles ahead of us, strengthening our security, enhancing our economy, expanding the circle of peace around us. All these miracles and many others are possible as we march together. Marching together, this is something we learned early on. Back then, during our exodus from Egypt in the desert, back then we already argued whether to go to the left or to the right, and then we found our way, searched for our way in the desert for 40 years until we reached the promised land, and then we understood that only together can we reach our destination. But just in case, we invented ways, because that's how we Israelis are. Doing it together, that's the moment when the airplane lands at the Ben Gurion airport and all of a sudden everybody applauds. There's nothing like this anywhere else in the world. Doing it together means arguing in favor and against around the Friday night table until the food arrives. Doing it together means crying together in memorial services and rejoicing together on Independence Day. Doing it together, it means knowing that we have one people, one country, and we won't have any other land. We don't have any other land. Happy Independence Day, the citizens of Israel. Happy Independence Day. Happy Independence Holiday, Israel. Wow. Happy Independence Holiday. Aki, happy Independence Holiday. Moran, happy Independence Holiday to all of us. 75 years that we've been walking this journey together. Together we crossed chasms. Together we conquered peaks. Together we laughed and cried and ached and celebrated everything we did here. All this wonder that we wake up to every day, almost without noticing. All this we created together. Only together. We have so much to say to each other, many thoughts, many dreams, and endless opinions about what the right path is. But let us not be mistaken, and others should not be mistaken about us as well. Even when we argue with all our hearts, it is out of love for the home that we built here together. The story of Israel is a story of pioneering from the days of the Bible to this very day. Pioneering in aliyot, immigration to this country, in building cities, towns, kibbutzim, moshavim, pioneering in reviving the ancient Hebrew language and the creation of a rich and vibrant culture. Like Nachshon, son of Aminadav, the first who entered between the waves of the Red Sea and who led an entire nation after him, Israeli pioneers today as well continue to leap into the unknown, to break new ground into the tomorrow, and to believe that where there's a will, there's a way. This year, the lighting of the torches ceremony will celebrate Israel's pioneers in the past and in the present, the first ones who turned and continue to turn ideas into actions, dreams into reality, the first ones to say, Hineni, here I am. As in ancient times, even today, ye pioneers shall pass over before your brethren, the children of Israel, all the men of valor. Thank you so much to the singers and dancers and performers on the stage and all the people behind the scenes who participated in this artistic section. Speaker of the Knesset, member of Knesset, Amir Ohana, will now deliver his address. My dear brothers and sisters, citizens of the State of Israel, at this moment, as night comes upon this land and darkness descends from the Mount Hermon to the Arava, from the Sea of Galilee to the Red Sea, the poignancy of the day in which our hearts were all with the memories of our heroes and the bereaved families, is still with us. And the tears of sadness over those that without whom we wouldn't have had a country haven't dried up yet. But it is thanks to them, it is thanks to their sacrifice that this evening, we will shed additional tears, tears of great joy for the fact that we have had the privilege to live in a sovereign and independent state. Soon, thousands of lights will light up the dark sky all over the country, and from the darkness, a beam of light will break out, a light that Jews have dreamt out for hundreds of generations in all corners of the world, next year in Jerusalem. And we, who have had the privilege to fulfill and realize this dream, we've returned to Jerusalem, and this time to never leave it again. And this light has been on for 75 years now in Tel Aviv and Dimona, Kiryat Arba and Kiryat Shmona, in Beersheba and in Jerusalem. And this night, tonight, the light is also on, not far from here at the Knesset, which represents all the citizens of the State of Israel, of all religions, ethnic origins, worldviews, and communities. And on this Independence Day, it shines to the whole world and blesses and congratulates all of us. Happy 75th anniversary, Israel. 75 years ago, our parents, the pioneers, made the desert bloom. They paved ways and built homes, and we will follow in their footsteps. 75 years ago, our parents fought against bitter enemies, few against the many, and against all odds. With their courage and with the spirit of their heroism, they triumphed, and we will follow in their footsteps. 75 years ago, our parents were clever enough to understand that with all the differences and disagreements between us, we will never survive without each other. We will simply not survive. And the uniting forces between us are much stronger than the forces separating us, and we will continue and follow in their footsteps. Because we have no other country except for this beautiful Israel. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world, and we have no other people except for this wonderful, multifaceted people. We have no other way to maintain this huge wonder, which is this small country. The only way to protect it is together, because of this shared burden that created a a bond between us as brothers, a journey that passes from Mount Sinai to Mount Herzl through the wanderings of the Israelites in the desert and their entry into the Promised Land, through the heroism of the Hasmonayites and the battles of the Maccabees, and through the destruction of the temple and the long exile, all the persecution and the rebellion, the uprising and the Warsaw Ghetto and the Fallujah in Iraq, through the fighters of the undergrounds, and all the way to the heroes of the IDF. A journey we embarked from different countries, from different movements, with different traditions. But this entire journey had one destination, and alongside our wars and our battles, there was always that prayer in our mouth: He who makes peace in heavens, He with His mercy will bring peace to us and to His entire people of Israel. And say Amen. Citizens of Israel, in recent weeks, we lost 4 pairs of brothers and sisters in terror attacks and in disasters. Yaakov and Asher Palai from Jerusalem, Hallel and Yagel Yaniv from Mount Bracha, Maya and Rina D from Efrat, who were murdered in terror attacks. May God avenge their blood. And Ma'ayan and Sahar Asor from Tiberias, who were killed in the terrible disaster in the Arava. May they all be of blessed memory. Ma'ayan Asor wrote a short while before he got swept away in the flood: when will we understand that we are all brothers and sisters? And from here, from Mount Herzl, on the 75th Independence Day of the State of Israel, I would like to echo his question, which calls out to the skies and heavens, and I wish to pray that we all understand that we are brothers and sisters here. Rav Leo D., whom we heard in the Iskor prayer, who lost in the terror attack his daughters Maya and Rina and his beloved wife Lucy, may God avenge their death, who donated her organs and gave lives to 5 people. He asked us, after the terrible disaster he experienced, such a modest request for us to raise the Israeli flag, to hoist the flag and remember the common good that it symbolizes. The Israeli flag is the flag of the miracle, which is unparalleled all over the world. And on this Independence Day, we will all hoist proudly the Israeli flag, which is the flag that belongs to all of us. May we on this Independence Day see the good virtues in our friends and not their shortcomings. May we on this Independence Day remember the bond that connects us as brothers over a journey that spans millennia, a bond, an alliance of brothers that lit our way in the past and will continue to do so in the future, because the eternity of the Jewish people does not lie. Baruch Ata Hashem, our God, the Lord, Shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh, He who brought us to this time. Happy Independence Day, Israel. The Speaker of the Knesset is invited to light the torch in honor of Israel's 75th Independence Day. I, Amir Ohana, Speaker of the Knesset, son of Meir and Esther, who came to Israel from Morocco in order to be part of the rebirth and the spouse of the State of Israel, the partner of Alon and the father of Elah and David. I am honored to light this torch of Israel's 75th Independence Day in honor of all the Olim who came from all the diaspora and realized and fulfilled the dream of generations, in honor of those who settled all over this country, who make this land bloom, in honor of the Knesset, the symbol of Israeli democracy and sovereignty, which reflects this spectacular human mosaic of all Israelis, in honor of the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces and those who serve in the Israeli police and the security establishment, who embody together this vow, never again. And last but not least, in honor of the children of Israel, the future generation, the reason why we get up in the morning and do everything we do, you should remember that it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. It is within your power to reach whatever you want and wherever you want, even this festive occasion, to this nation and for the glory of the State of Israel. Millions of people and millions of men and women created this shared home, which is called the State of Israel, each one in his or her unique way. But special respect is due to those who came first, the pioneers, those who embarked on this journey first, who plowed the first plow, who entered the first hut, who established the company, the factory, the organization, those that when everybody explained why not, they showed everybody how it is indeed possible. Thanks to those pioneers, the towns and kibbutzim were established, the neighborhoods outside of the walls, and the first Hebrew cities. Thanks to this pioneering spirit, we established high-tech and agri-tech and biotech and mediatech, and glorious establishment and trailblazing organizations were established. About 5,500 proposals reached the public committee for the torches ceremony, and the committee recommended a short list of candidates to the minister responsible for the events of the 75th anniversary, Minister of Road Safety and Transportation, Brigadier General in Reserves, Miri Regev. The minister chose out of them 14 men and women, few who attest to the many. I wish to invite the lighters of the torches.
Avigdor Kahalani.
Avigdor Kahalani. In the Six-Day War, he was severely injured and he received a special citation for his fighting. And in the 73 Yom Kippur War, he led his soldiers to a decisive victory and received a special citation for his leadership. Ever since, Avigdor Kahalani has always been in the most crucial points for Israel's future. Just as he led his soldiers at war, he leads today thousands of teenagers in journeys following the footsteps of fighters in leadership and pioneering. Avigdor Kahalani is a hero of the State of Israel. Let the torch be lit. Thank you. I, Avigdor Kahalani, son of Sarah and Moshe Kahalani of blessed memory, and a brother to Emmanuel Kahalani, who was killed as a soldier in the 73 war in Sinai. I light this torch on this sacred day in honor of the founders of this country who gave us a place to be born in honor of the fighters of the Holocaust, that the color of the yellow patch, we turned it into the color of the special citation of war heroes, in honor of my courageous friends who paid with their lives and gave us life. My dear friends, those who became disabled following their IDF service, who continue to carry with pain their war scars, in honor of the bereaved families, that we cannot help assuage their pain, in honor of my country that I love so much, my Jewish and democratic country, that I was born into your light. I swear to you, today we all swear to you. Thank you to the IDF soldiers who guard us. To the glory of the State of Israel. Long live the State of Israel.
סיוון יערי.
סיוון יערי.
סיוון יערי הייתה בת 20 כשהגיעה לאפריקה בפעם הראשונה.
All right, this is Sivan Yari, who has been a guest here on I-24 News. Sivan is the founder and CEO of Innovation Africa. It was founded after Sivan went to Madagascar 20 years ago as an employee of an international corporation, and seeing how far African children had to go to bring water to their family, she decided to start an organization that would help bring Israeli technology to remote African villages.
אני סיוון יערי, בת סוזי וז'ילברט השור, זיכרונו לברכה,
of blessed memory, who passed away only a few days ago and never knew that I would be standing here this evening. Father, I hope you're here with us and that you're just as excited as I am. I light this torch in honor of the vision of Herzl, in which the country of the Jews reaches out and helps the continent of Africa, in honor of Israeli innovation, which saves lives, which brings so much goodness to this world. And thanks to it, millions of people in Africa today see light and can drink clean water for the first time. And in honor of all the citizens of Israel who see such a proactive and innovative country which reaches out and helps those who are weaker than us in the most distant and most difficult places in the world, with such great willpower and devotion and love. And in honor of the privilege and honor to do all that with great pride under the flag of Israel. And for the glory of the State of Israel.
Well, the next candlelighter is Dr. Chitam Hussein. She is a specialist in internal medicine and infectious diseases at the Rambam Hospital in Haifa. She has served as a senior physician in the infectious disease units. She was appointed to coordinate the field of infection control at the hospital. And it's also a worthwhile reminder of how many Israeli Arabs are deeply involved in Israel's health establishment. Anybody who's ever gone to an Israeli hospital or clinic or even pharmacy knows that. Let's listen to Dr. Chitam Hussein.
הייתה חלוצה כל חייה. היא הייתה הסטודנטית הדרוזית הראשונה שסיימה בהצלחה את לימודי הרפואה בהדסה עין כרם. התמנתה לרופאה מומחית במרכז הרפואי רמב"ם, ואחר כך למנהלת מחלקה. היא מונתה לעמוד בראש מאבק בית החולים בנגיף הקורונה, הובילה מחקר קליני חלוצי, ובקרוב תהיה אישה הדרוזית הראשונה שתכהן כסגנית מנהל בבית החולים נהריה. תעלה המשואה.
I, Avi,
son of Lucia and Menachem Rivkind of blessed memory, who survived the Holocaust, and I, Chitam Hussein, the daughter of Sadiq of blessed memory, and Nuha Hussein, we light this torch in honor of our colleagues, all the workers of the healthcare system, beloved friends from all sectors, communities, and opinions who work day and night to take care of all the patients with humanity and devotion, in honor of those who do everything they can to save lives, the rescue and relief forces, the hospital staff and faculty, the soldiers in the medical corps, the nurses, and the human bond and connection between patient and caregiver, which is irreplaceable. In honor of my daughters Tala and Chala, in honor of the women of the Druze community, and in honor of all women in Israel who dare to dream and pursue their dreams. There is no mountaintop you cannot conquer, and there is no glass ceiling that you cannot shatter. In honor of the younger generation of doctors who are educated to lead professional medicine out of compassion and love of mankind, in honor of the sanctity of human lives. Do me a favor. Take care and protect your lives, and for the glory of the State of Israel.
ורד בן סעדון, לפני 2,500 שנה הבטיח הנביא ירמיהו.
Vered Ben Sadon, the next candlelighter, is born in the Netherlands, an immigrant to Israel. She started with her husband Erez a winery called the Tura Winery, which has become one of the most high-quality boutique wineries in Israel. It's won many international awards, and it really is this award is meant as an honor to the entire wine industry in Israel, something which is relatively new in this country, but has won it international renown and restored what had been a tradition in Israel, in the ancient land of Israel, has brought it back to the modern state of Israel.
הקצינה שמלווה את ורד, אשר נבחרה לפני חודשים רבים על ידי מפקדיה להשתתף בטקס המשואות, היא ביתה שחר. תעלה המשואה!
I, Vered Ben Saadon, daughter of Rivka and Yoel Van Kuvorden from Rechelim, light this torch in honor of all the farmers throughout this country who get up, wake up every morning before the sun shines, who plant with tears and harvest with joy. To my brothers and sisters, the people of Judea and Samaria, who settle this country with love and with devotion and sacrifice, in honor of the wine industry, which brings so much respect and honor to the state of Israel, and in honor of Israeli wine, which is the best in the world, which opens and brings happiness, brings hearts together, and brings us together, in honor of you, Erez, my beloved partner, and for this nation and for the glory of the state of Israel.
Sylvan Adams.
The next torchlighter is someone who's going to be very familiar to viewers of I-24 News, the Canadian-Israeli philanthropist and businessman Sylvan Adams, who immigrated here in 2015 from Canada, who has supported many educational projects, many medical projects throughout the country. He is also the founder of the annual Nefesh B'Nefesh B'nai Tzion, or Builders of Zion Prize, which is given to outstanding immigrants to Israel each year. And of course, he's got a particular passion for sports. He's brought the Giro d'Italia bicycle race to Israel, and has also brought a Formula One exhibition to Israel. Sylvan Adams.
Sylvan Adams, son of Annie and Marcel Adams of blessed memory, light this torch in honor of my parents who survived the Holocaust, fought in the War of Independence, and built anew a good and full life. In honor of our wonderful country and the amazing people who live here, who turned this place into the best place in the world. Our place. Even if we argue, we are united. In honor of the people who tell the whole world the real and unbelievable story about the land of Israel. A happy, tolerant, pluralistic country with good and warm people whom I love so much.
I chose to live here.
I chose to live here in the homeland of the Jewish people, the homeland that belongs to all of us. Israelis and diaspora Jews. We are all one people.
Am Israel Chai.
Am Israel Chai. I'm proud to be an Israeli and for the glory of the state of Israel.
Sylvan Adams lighting the torch.
Nina Avidar Wiener.
The next torchlighter is Nina Avidar Wiener. She was born in Egypt, actually, and came to Israel via France in the 1950s. She volunteered to work in the Aliyah youth camps and met many young people coming from disadvantaged circumstances. She then did later on, together with support from the Jewish philanthropist Edmund Safra, started a new organization, the Israel Scholarship Education Foundation, which provides scholarships for outstanding students from disadvantaged circumstances to give them the opportunities to work, to study, and realize their potential.
I, Nina, daughter of Reuven Paul Meter and Yona, from the Papo family, a family of Chalutzim, pioneers from Rishon LeZion, light this torch in honor of the children living in the periphery in Israel. Diamonds in the desert, that all that they need is someone who will believe in them and will give them some support in honor of the state of Israel, a country that was built on miracles, that can and should be the additional miracle of these children. In honor of all those who partnered the path of this vision, which is a vision of 46 years, and in honor of over 8,000 ISEF graduates, the International Foundation for Education, all over Israel. Early on, they were my children, and then they became my friends, my partners, and today They are my teachers. I am so proud of you, all of you, and for the glory of the State of Israel.
The next torchlighter is one of Israel's most popular entertainers, Shalom Asiag. He's a very popular comic actor, producer, screenwriter. He is someone who has made a mark on Israel, especially on Israeli television in recent years. He's the child of Moroccan immigrants to Israel and growing up in the periphery town of Tirat Carmel, and he's drawn a lot on his Moroccan heritage in his work and in his comedy. And he's being honored today as really the representative of the Israeli cultural and entertainment community.
I, Shalom, son of Alice and Machluf Max Sayag of blessed memory, light this torch in honor of my parents who came to Israel, made Aliyah from Morocco, and they established such a glorious family in a warm and loving home. We had nothing, but we had so much. So many values, warmth, and love. They taught us to love and accept every person in honor of Tirat Carmel, which will forever be my home, and all the towns, cities, and neighborhoods. Even if they call you the periphery, don't listen to them. You are the heart of this country. You can do everything you want. In honor of the world of culture, which plays music, dances, and creates the Israeli mosaic, our most important role, especially today, is to unite and bring together all the hearts. We are all brothers and sisters. Who will do it if not us? In honor of the humor that has brought me so far, which heals pain with love. Don't be angry. Don't hate. Laugh. Laugh at yourselves. That will only do you good, and for the glory of the State of Israel.
The next torchlighter, really representing Israel's young people, is Ofek Rishon. She actually became known in the Israeli media through stories of her being bullied in school. She raised and spoke out against the phenomena of bullying and harassment in schools. She formed a program which is called the Boycott Patrol, in which she and her peers help each other, help other children who are going through the bullying experience. And Ofek here representing usually is at least one torchlighter that represents Israel's young generation, and she is here representing them.
I, Ofek, daughter of Yitzchak and Ziva Rishon, light this torch in honor of us, in honor of all the boys and girls who are still in or were in this abyss called ostracizing. Transparent kids who feel that they're alone in the world, who don't have a ground beneath their feet, who are not invited, that nobody answers their phone calls. It's not your fault. It's not our fault. You are all wonderful, and I embrace you all. Listen to these applause. Everybody embraces you. In honor of the girls and boys who courageously stand and face the most popular children and do not ostracize and boycott other children. You are heroes. You save lives. In honor of the families, you, which remind us in our most difficult times that we are worthy, that we are loved. Without my family, I wouldn't have been here now. I love you all. Stay strong. One day you will reach from this place to great things, I promise you. Don't let anyone turn out your fire. And for the glory of the state of Israel.
The next torchlighter is Yehudit Nagosa. She is the head of the program Opportunity for Change, which is a preparatory program on kibbutz Ein HaShlosha that gives boys who have been discounted from military service, either because they have a criminal record as a minor or they have some social or other problems, that gives them the chance, a second chance, to qualify for the military draft. These kind of pre-military programs are common in Israel, but this is special in that it gives young boys a second chance.
I, Yehudit, daughter of Tayo Uvanyo Nagosa Picado from Kiryat Malachi, I light this torch in honor of my father, who was an Aliyah activist in the Prisoner of Zion, from whom I received the values of Zionism and the love for this country, in honor of my mother, my greatest inspiration and my greatest teacher, and in honor of my entire community, Antae Abate Wegenotze Tazi Yederaskui Benanta Hailino. In honor of all the courageous young men and women, among them the graduates and the students of the Opportunity to Change Pre-Military Academy, who break boundaries, both external and internal, and dare to imagine a better future. In honor of the faith, the hope, and the equal opportunity that each and every one of us deserves. In honor of you, Avera Mengistu, and all the POWs and missing in action, the people of Israel do not forget its sons and daughters, and for the glory of the state of Israel.
Salach Eliyahu veReut Amichai.
The next torchlighters, among them Ruit Amichai. Ruit Amichai is here as a representative of the group HaShomer HaChadash. That is a group that is basically set up to provide more security and protection for Israelis living in communities in the south of primarily in the south of the country that have been unfortunately afflicted by crime and other problems. And she is here representing them. The HaShomer HaChadash primarily assists the farmers in the south of the country, helping them provide more security.
הוא ארגון שנולד מאהבה, אהבת הארץ, אהבת האדם ואהבת העמל. עשרות אלפי מתנדבי הארגון מסייעים לחקלאים בכל רחבי הארץ בעבודת האדמה ובשמירה על השדות והיבול. השומר החדש מוביל גם פעילות חינוכית ענפה שמחברת רבבות לאדמה, לציונות ולערכי הערבות ההדדית של דור החלוצים. רעות עמיחי, בת ה-17 מהיישוב נטע שבחבל לכיש, מתנדבת בעבודה חקלאית למעלה מ3 שנים, בפעילותה בתוכנית המנהיגות הצעירה של הארגון. רעות וחבריה מהשומר החדש מייצגים את כל מה שיפה בנוער הנפלא שצומח בארץ ישראל. תעלה המשואה.
I
I, Salah Eliyahu, son of Rabbi Yitzchak and the Rabbanit Miriam Noach of blessed memory, and I, Reut, daughter of Yael and Yair Amichai, we light this torch in honor of tens of thousands of volunteers of HaShomer HaChadash, which include teenagers, adolescents from throughout the Israeli spectrum who work together with love and with respect. We understand the importance of the mission and we are willing to take it upon ourselves. The Zionist story has just begun. In honor of young agriculture that does Zionism in the 21st century, and in honor of the old-time farmers who established this country, people of land and of action, the beautiful land of Israel. And in your honor, Salah, in honor of my beloved family, I have 13 children, 51 grandchildren, and 60 great-grandchildren. In honor of my village, Tula, of the farmers who work all over Galilee in this entire land, you shall eat what you growed, and then you grew, and then you shall be happy. In honor of our redemption, as it is said, our legs were at the gates to you, Jerusalem. Build Jerusalem as a city that has been joined together, because this is where all the tribes went.
تسميح أحدثنا ولبان ينوح عدبيات ماشياح وتقيعات شفارات والتفقير.
And for the glory of the state of Israel.
Sorry. At Salah Eliyahu, who was lighting the torch together with Reut Amichai from the HaShomer, the HaChadash organization. The next torchlighter is anonymous. His identity is being concealed because he is a member of the Duvdevan unit of the IDF, which operates undercover, primarily in Palestinian areas in the West Bank. For anyone who watches the TV show Fauda, you can get some idea of what the soldiers of Duvdevan do in their missions. It's one of the elite units of the IDF, and its members are kept anonymous because they often work undercover.
I, the commander of the Duvdevan unit, a proud son of my parents who made Aliyah at a young age in order to build their home in the land of Israel, light this torch in honor of the heroes, the IDF soldiers and commanders, conscripts, career officers, and in reserve duty. Many generations have dreamt, and you fulfilled the dream in honor of my injured brothers and sisters, those who have been injured in body and soul, who will never leave the battlefields behind them. And in honor of our beloved bereaved families, there are no words that can express the depth of the bond and the intensity of the commitment. In honor of the olive uniform that do not distinguish between opinions and views, uniform of unity, friendship, and a common mission to defend what we had built here.
in honor of my wife and children and all the children of career officers that from the moment they are born are mobilized and contribute to the security effort, in an embrace at nighttime, a phone call, or a drawing they draw for their father and mother serving in the army. It is for you, and thanks to your power that we fight. I love you, and for the glory of the State of Israel.
The next torchlighter will be recognizable to any sports fan here in Israel and many sports fans abroad. David Blatt was American-born, a Jew, played in the Maccabi games in Israel, then later came and he played professionally in the Israeli Basketball League, but he really made his name as a coach leading Israeli teams like Maccabi Tel Aviv to European championships. He won multiple championships coaching different teams in Europe and in Russia. And yes, he even coached LeBron James for a season in the NBA at the Cleveland Cavaliers. David Blatt, unfortunately, in recent years has been stricken with multiple sclerosis, and David Blatt being honored this evening.
I'm very emotional. I feel very emotional. I'm awed. Look at this people. Look at this wonderful team. I, David, son of Lillian and William Blatt of blessed memory, light this torch in honor of the State of Israel, which adopted me when I came here as a new immigrant, a new ole. It gave me a home and opened to me the option to establish a loyal and proud Israeli family. I am grateful for that. In honor of the wonderful and warm family of Israeli sports that gave me the option to transcend boundaries, to bring hearts together, to make an impact, to educate and to lead people and help them be the best versions of themselves. In honor of my new brothers and sisters who deal with multiple sclerosis, we know every day is a struggle. Every day is a gift. We will never give up. And for the glory of the State of Israel. "12 torches symbolizing the 12 tribes, 12 beacons and torches of light. And when this light emanates from here, from Mount Herzl, you tell me, who won't come?"
שכולו אמיתי, אתה שומע, אחי אני כאן בשבילך לתמיד, ומי אנחנו? שבט אחים ממלא הפכים, אל תתייג אותנו, כל הקרבה לטובה שתבוא, אחי תבקש זה עלינו יבוא, תראה הכל מוכן כאן בשבילנו, גם אם שורף זה יעבור, כשאתה שר נדלק האור, אחי עזוב שטויות תדליק אותנו.
very much to the torchlighters. And now, to the ceremony plaza, we invite the flag bearers that carry the insignia of the IDF units. We have officers, NCOs from all IDF corps participating in this parade. The Israeli police, the prison service, the firefighting brigade, and the border police, which celebrates its 70th anniversary. The flag bearers of the border police raise the flag with 70, which symbolizes a glorious legacy of heroism, and commanders and volunteers, reservists who serve as a protective wall defending this country, the flag bearers of the security establishment.
דגלני היחידות, קדימה, צהר.
Jewish people. The four corners of the earth from which Jews have come and continue to come to the state of Israel and have been building it through their pioneering acts for 75 years now. And you shall go forward to the east and to the west, to the north and to the south.
Shiv'im
75 years to Israel's independence. The honor and appreciation granted on this Independence Day to Israeli pioneering as an act.
Bereshit.
Genesis, at the beginning. tractor, the symbol of Israeli agricultural pioneering, which grew crops on the mountain, the valley, the Arava, and the desert. Agriculture, which yields fruits and vegetables, and the symbol, the Israeli orange. The Sea of Galilee, which for many years provided water to the Negev in a pioneering act of carrying water from north to south. The Iron Dome, one of the most prominent and unique achievement of the security industries. And the flag bearers are joined by soldiers from the Air Force and the Home Front Command. In a few moments, the Air Force will receive the insignia and the flags for safekeeping until the next Independence Day. The Star of David. Official symbol of the State of Israel. The menorah is created by groups of flag bearers along with the Knesset Guard and those who received outstanding awards from Israel's president on Independence Day. Israeli flag. This time the Israeli flag will be hoisted up the mountain as it has been hoisted endless times whenever new pioneering points were established in far off distant places. The Israeli flag with the teams of flag bearers, the Knesset Guard, and the recipients of the outstanding award from the president.
Dagelanim, Dagel, check. Active, check. במקום, דרור.
The Israeli street has inspired some amazing movies and plays that have entered our hearts and became Israeli classics. And in their own words, in honor of all the pioneers, we say tonight, Kol HaKavod, kudos.
כשהשוק פתוח, הייתי ככה סתם הולך והחזה מתוח, כולם אומרים איזה קנון עובר בסמטאות, עושים שלום מכל חלון. כולם היו יודעים אז טוב מאוד, למי יש יותר כבוד. כולם היו יודעים אז טוב מאוד, למי תמיד למי יש יותר כבוד. וכשהקרב היה בוער והכיתה לא זזה, המפקד היה אומר, אתה ראשון יא קזה. כולם ידעו שקזבלן ראשון תמיד לצעוד, ומאחור
שתיעלם תרועת הפסטיבלים, ילבלבו שירי אהבתי, אני יכול לשמוח איך שבא לי, וזהו זה החג האמיתי. יש לי יום יום חג, יש לי חג יום יום, יש לי יום יום חג, הללויה. יש לי יום יום חג, יש לי חג יום יום, יש לי יום יום חג,
תודה רבה לאומנים.
Thank you so much to the actors and performers, 350 dancers from Zuzbe Machol from Modi'in, under the management of Galit and Ro'i Kabiri. Wow. I'd also like to thank the Bima National Theater. I'd like to thank Merkaz Hasbara, Electra Target Company for producing this show. And we'd like to thank Eldar Goar Groisman, who directed and edited this ceremony. The transfer of the main flag ceremony, the Israel flag and the IDF flag, and it will be passed on from the Home Front Command that had it for safekeeping this past year to the Air Force that will have them until next year.
דגלני יחידות, קדימה, צעד! חוליות הדגלים הראשיים, קדימה, צעד! חוליות, עמוד! דגלנים, תפוס מקום! משמרות, דגל, שק! משמרות, הכתב, צ'ק! דגלנים, תפוס מקום! חוליות הדגלים הראשיים, קדימה, צעד!
התקווה.
התקווה, the national anthem.
המסדר ידגל את נשקו. דגל שק! המסדר יכתיב את נשקו. הכתב, צ'ק!
That brings...
Please be seated.
That brings to an end Israel's 75th Independence Day, opening day celebration. There's just a little bit of military pomp still to go. Then there'll be fireworks later. With me still in the studio is Eli Hochenberg.
Hora dancing in the middle of the...
Yes, the Hora dancing, a little less informal than usual. We see the representatives of all of Israel's military and security forces as they leave the ceremony. Eli, I just want to, just a couple of notes. This ceremony came at a time of controversy, which we've discussed, but none of that was here tonight. There was some brief references in the remarks made by the pre-taped remarks of Prime Minister Netanyahu and the live remarks by Knesset Speaker Amir Ohana relative to the mentioning the divisiveness that we have in Israeli society, but saying that there's more that unites Israeli society than divides it. And of course, one of these is the traditions of Independence Day, which, for those that watch them, and I've watched them for a few decades now, and so have you, know that they follow a certain script. I would say this was a more, maybe slightly more modest ceremony. I remember the 50th anniversary of Israel was a much more bigger, flamboyant production with the very top entertainers of Israel, even some criticism about some of the money that were paid. This was, I would say, a more modest ceremony.
A uniform ceremony.
Right, absolutely. And maybe more fitting, certainly more fitting for the time.
Yes, I agree very much in keeping the lines of this ceremony, and we've been speaking before it began about the potential disruptions, or rather the fears of disruptions that were very much present during Memorial Day events. We need to say there were fears that there'll be also kinds of disruptions during this ceremony.
There were some concerns about that.
Right. So that was a smooth sail in this respect. And yes, if it wasn't for the context of the past few months, I wouldn't say that anyone could point out
anything much. So the only time this ceremony went off script, which I think thought was one of the highlights, was when Eliyahu Salach, one of the torchlighters, 91 years old, immigrant from Kurdistan, decided to give us a little solo on some Piyutim traditional prayer singing, and
the top of his lungs.
But that also. But I should say that also is almost a tradition.
Yeah, somewhat of a tradition. You usually have.
There's usually one person that decides they're going to use that time on the stage to
improvise.
And improvise. I will say, for me, another highlight certainly was seeing David Blatt, the legendary Israeli basketball player and coach, who also coached in the NBA, who's been afflicted in the last few years by multiple sclerosis. Seeing him up, he was very emotional. In fact, at one point in the dancing that the torchlighters kind of do impromptu in the musical section, I saw David Blatt and Eliyahu Salach, the 91, dancing together. And that was a moving moment. Another thing I should note, by the way, in recent years, there has been a tradition to have a representative of the diaspora.
Correct.
Which not everybody felt was appropriate. They did not have this year, but we did have two... because we had two Anglo immigrants to Israel, prominent ones among the torchlighters. David Blatt, of course, American-born.
אלוף משנה דרעי, בשם הכנסת המייצגת את כל אזרחי ישראל. ובשם הקהל הגדול הזה,
as I said before, that this is actually the Knesset, the parliament is the host of this event. Meir Laner, the speaker of the Knesset, is signaling the end of it.
And Benny Gantz already making his way out. You can see him at the back there.
That's right. We saw the U.S. By the way, talking about the U.S., because I mentioned that David Blatt, American immigrant to Israel, was among the torchlighters. Sylvan Adams, a fairly recent immigrant from Canada, among the torchlighters. We saw also the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Tom Nides, at the
front row, though. Yeah, and Benny Gantz is essentially the top opposition representative at the ceremony, since Yair Lapid, the leader of the biggest opposition party, decided not to show up in protest of what is happening. And yeah, we're talking about this unique mosaic of torchlighters. It always leaves you with a smile ear to ear on the beautiful, beautiful people doing amazing things here in this country. And yeah, the traditional horror dancing, traditionally untraditional.
Right. And with that, we're going to end our broadcast. I want to thank Eli Hochenberg.
Thank you, Kalev,
for joining me.
Happy Independence Day.
Studio. Now, we took a break for a couple of hours, as we said, from the controversies that's been dividing the country in recent months. Let's get back to those now, because there is a demonstration this evening relating to the judicial reforms. And let's go to our Pierre Kloschandler is there. Pierre, what is this scene there on the streets of Tel Aviv, where people are also starting to party for Independence Day?
Right, Caleb, it's a party, but it's also a protest. It's a celebration of Israel's anniversary, Independence Day, but it's also a protest against the judicial overall. And there are tens of thousands of people here brandishing the Israeli flag, what they call the democratic flag of the State of Israel. And it's quite a solemn atmosphere here. A lot of reading of excerpts of the Declaration of the Independence of the State of Israel, which was proclaimed by the Zaken, the old man, the founding father of the State of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, 75 years ago, in which he guaranteed the equality of rights, social and political, for all Israeli citizens, without any distinctions of race, gender, or religion. And Amit Katz, our cameraman, is going to show you there are indeed probably over 100,000 people here. Two former chief of staff spoke. There are singers singing quite sad songs because this celebration is marred by the fear by many of the protesters that their democracy, the democracy of their state, is in danger. And thus they're here in quite a solemn atmosphere, I would say, which is very distinct from the protests that we've heard, that we've seen throughout the past 4 months, in which people were shouting democracy, democracy. This time it's a different character of a protest, Khaled.
Right, and it's certainly a much different gathering than we usually see on Independence Day Eve in Tel Aviv. Thank you for that, Pierre. And now let's go to some of the other day's other news. There was a terror incident on this Memorial Day with an Israeli man shot and moderately wounded after being fired on from a passing car on the road between the Ofra and Shiloh settlements in the northern West Bank. The IDF is still searching for the attacker. Now, this came after yesterday's car ramming on the eve of Memorial Day in Jerusalem's Machane Yehuda market, which left 8 people injured. Chana Friedman has more in this report.
Another terror attack in the heart of the Israeli capital, but this time on one of the most sensitive days of the year, the eve of Israel's Memorial Day. 8 injured on Monday afternoon in a car ramming attack next to the Machane Yehuda market in Jerusalem's center. The terrorist shot dead by an armed civilian on the scene, and the wounded taken to nearby hospitals for treatment. The Israeli Prime Minister took to the podium at one memorial ceremony just moments after the attack, addressing the symbolism of the events on this day.
Moments ago, not far from here, there was another attempt to murder Israelis. This terror attack in this place, in this moment, reminds us that Israel was attained with great agony.
The terrorist has been identified as Khatam Najma, a 39-year-old resident of Beit Safafa in southern Jerusalem, with an Israeli ID, and though he acted unaffiliated, the Hamas terror group publicly praised the attack, calling it heroic.
And what they've also done, and I see this in different social media groups, is immediately trying to leverage this attack. They're clearly inciting and trying to generate more of these types of attacks against Israelis.
But as for the special significance of Monday's attack,
there is no any special or unique importance to this day or another. If they are succeeding in operating or activating a terror attack and causing casualties to Israelis in such a day as today, so they have a sort of an added value in their eyes.
As Israeli police continue to collect evidence on the scene and beyond, Palestinian sources report that the IDF have already entered the terrorist's home. This is the latest attack in an ongoing wave of violence since the start of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan.
And stay with us. Still to come on the broadcast, we'll see how the United Nations Security Council spent Israel Memorial Day. What else? Discussing the Palestinian issue.
It's a living, breathing organism that pulsates through millennia. Touch it, listen to it, smell it, taste it. Experience the Holy Land like never before. Holy Land Uncovered, every Sunday, only on i24 News.
Esta semana en News 24, emisión especial, Día del Recuerdo de los Caídos y Día de la Independencia de Israel. Israel celebra 75 años. La declaración de la independencia de Israel bajo el microscopio. La dueña de un documento similar plantea la duda. ¿Acaso el rollo guardado en el Archivo Nacional no es el original? Leo Corri, ex decano de Historia de la Universidad de Tel Aviv, nos habla del pasado, el presente y el futuro de Israel. News 24, el magazine semanal en español de i24 News.
Discover i24 News Radio. Now you can listen to i24 News anywhere, anytime, for free. i24 News Radio is the audio live stream of the television network with world headlines every 30 minutes starting from 7 a.m. Tune in for top news, magazines editions while in the car, in your office. Join us from your smartphone, tablet, or desktop to stay connected in the Middle East and around the world. Don't wait any longer. Head to our website or mobile application and click on i24 News Radio to subscribe.
Welcome back to this special broadcast on i24 News on Israel's Independence Day Eve. Now, when Israel was mourning its dead from wars and terror attacks earlier on this Memorial Day, the United Nations Security Council was holding its monthly discussion on the Palestinian issue. Israel had asked Russia, in its role as the current president of the Council, to shift the date of day's discussion, but that request was requested. Well, here's what Israeli ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, had to say about that.
The decision to nonetheless hold this debate on today, of all days, only further proves what Israelis already know and feel about this biased organization. Mr. President, what would you do if this council was convening to single out and condemn the Russian Federation and your soldiers on the 9th of May, on Victory Day over the Nazis?
Let's go to our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim, at the UN. And Mike, unfortunately, perhaps it is fitting that the UN should spend Israel's Memorial Day for fallen soldiers and victims of terror, again, debating the Palestinian issue, basically. Did we hear anything different this time?
Erdogan doesn't see it that way, and this meeting had an added significance or an even bigger microscope because Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was chairing the meeting as opposed to the Russian ambassador. Russia has the presidency of the Security Council, and Lavrov was in town yesterday and today. And Erdogan said, you know what, I'm going to do what so many Israelis do on Yom HaZikaron, on the Day of Remembrance. I'm going to light a candle, and we're going to remember the dead. Here's Gilad Erdan in today's Security Council meeting.
I will take this opportunity to commemorate this past year's victims of Palestinian terror and those who fell in the line of duty. Yonatan Chavakuk, Boaz Gol, Oren Ben Iftach, Noam Raz, Bar Falach, Noah Lazar, Ido Baruch, Ronen Chanina, Shalom Sofer, Moti Ashkenazi, Tamir Avichai, Mikhail Ledigin, Aryeh Shopok, Eli Mizrahi, Natalie Mizrahi, Rafael Ben Eliyahu, Asher Natan, Shaul Chai, Ilya Sosansky, Irina Korolova, Shimon Ma'atuf, Alter Shlomo Lederman, Yaakov Palei, Asher Palei, Asil Sowaed, Yagel Yaniv, Hillel Yaniv, Ilan Ganeles, Oresh Kar, Alessandro Parini, Maya D, Rina D, Lucy D. If this council refuses to respect their memory, I will dedicate this speech to their memory. I light this candle, Mr. President, to honor them, and may their memory be blessed. I'm sorry, but I refuse to spend this sacred day listening to lies and condemnation. This debate disgraces the fallen, and Israel will not take part in it. Thank you, Mr. President.